Hey everyone. Somebody asked me if I would do a quick guide of my gear. So here we go. We'll start off with the shoulders. Using Roland's mantle. He's had really good rolls. You can use basically any shoulders you want in this spot. Preferably ancient, because that works against the Legacy of Nightmares buff. And then you want to look for these stats. This basically has almost every possible stat you could want. They're not maxed out, but it almost has everything. So strength, chance for area damage is really important. The cooldown reduction, that was vitality. And I rolled out vitality for cooldown reduction, because at the level of Greater Rift I'm going, no amount of vitality is going to help me survive if I'm not using my skills and abilities right to survive and prevent getting hit. This is not like an invoker set where you're going to run into the middle of a group of ads and DPS them. You don't want to be standing in the middle of ads without blowing cooldowns to survive being hit, using cooldowns that will stun them and prevent them from hitting you. Alright, so cooldown reduction is very important, because we are aiming for 63 to 64% cooldown reduction. And then the bombardment damage, that's really sweet. That's excellent, because this is bombardment Thorns build, so that was a perfect roll. Then we got secondary, got Thorns damage, which was sweet. The only way that this would be really great on, if that extra gold for monster was like a resistance bonus instead, or a gold pickup radius. But the resistance bonus would be more important in terms of giving me better toughness. So this is a really good item. These are really the kind of rolls you're looking for, even without the vitality in there. Alright, next we got Leoric's Crown. This is an absolute must-have. It's because of that secondary ability, increase the effect of any rune sock on this item by 90%. Okay, so in case you didn't know what I just did, I pressed the control button on my keyboard to reveal the min-max of these properties. It would be great if it were 100%, but I got 90%, so that's good until I get an item that has a little more than 90% on it. These rolls are really good. Something that you can get on a helm or a head item is that plus to critical hit chance. If you get an item, if you get Leoric's Crown with a plus to critical hit chance, roll out that plus to critical hit chance into anything else, to vitality or armor or all resist, because it's, or strength if it happens to not have strength, because that plus to critical hit chance is useless, worthless in this Legacy of Nightmare Thorns Bombardment build. From what I've heard, according to Blizzard, the bombardment ability, which is all built around, cannot critical hit. So you do not want critical hit chance no matter what. You want to roll that out if you can. Alright, Halcyon's Descent. So a lot of players are using a Hellfire Amulet in this spot, because it gives them 5 secondary abilities that they can use. So passive skills, should I say. So I have a neck piece that happens to have this Iron Maiden. So if I use that, I would take Iron Maiden and replace it with Finery. And then these passive abilities are all absolute must-haves. But if you don't have a Hellfire Amulet, that you gotta have that. Some other players might have 1 or 2 different things, but this is an absolute must-have. You must have Iron Maiden. I'll give you a look at it real quick. Yeah, there you go. Okay, this is the Hellfire Amulet I have to work with. I've decided that this Halcyon's Descent is better just because it has more stats on it. Not only does it have physical, but it has that cooldown reduction, which will get me closer to that 63 to 64% cooldown reduction I want. Plus, there's Thorns damage on that. Plus, that secondary skill. When you use Aircat's Champion, you mesmerize nearby enemies with your skill, causing them to jump uncontrollably for 6 seconds. I believe that can go up to 8 seconds. So 8 seconds would be great, but it's 6, better than nothing. Pretty decent Amulet anyway. That's really, really good. And the reason why that's important is because I will be using Aircat's champion as I fight, as I'm working on ads. And that just synergizes really well with that, because when they're jumping uncontrollably, well, they can't attack me, which is positive, so that's survival. Plus, it works with Bane of the Trap. This gem, Bane of the Trap, increase damage to enemies under the effects of control impairing effects, which is what this is a control impairing effect. Is it effect or effect? Okay, it's the effect. Alright, so you stay in there if I change my mind later. Alright, Thorns damage, yep. Boyarski's chip, that's an absolute must-have. Level that up. Thorns is what this build is all about. I don't like that taunt. But the funny thing is, that taunt shouldn't... You know what, that taunt's not going to work because I don't have any primary skills at all. None of these is a primary skill. None of them. So, that's not effective. Or it doesn't happen. Alright, Nemesis Bracers. I think this is very important when you get into the higher, greater rifts. Shrines and pylons will spawn an enemy champion. So, if you've done greater rifting a lot, one of the things you might discover is that shrines and pylons, though they give you great buffs to help take down these enemy champions, these elites and rares, sometimes they're nowhere near where these enemy champions are. So it's great to be able to take that shrine and pylon that has a buff and then spawn the enemy champions and then destroy them, because enemy champions are good for progression. So that's very important. Also, on all your bracers, you have a chance for getting a critical hit chance roll on the item, and some items also give you is it attack speed? Yeah, I think some items give you attack speed. Maybe I'm remembering incorrectly. But critical hit chance. Again, critical hit chance is absolutely useless. If you get it, roll that out for physical damage increase, for strength, for vitality, for resistance. I don't believe you can do cooldown reduction or area damage on your bracers. And here I re-rolled one of the secondary abilities for Thorns damage. Thorns is very important. Get as much Thorns as you can. The more the better. But I still say first things first, get your cooldown reduction. Get that all settled away. Get that to 63, 64. Alright, Killer Karas. So while above 94% primary resource damage is reduced for 50%. And here it is. So if I had a resource spender, if I had a wrath spender, and I used up enough wrath that this went below the 94%, then this would disappear and I would lose that the bonus, the 50% damage reduction. So some people have put Heart of Iron in this place. Like maybe they haven't gotten a Killer Cross, or the Killer Cross doesn't have really as good, doesn't have as good stats as the Heart of Iron that maybe they got to drop for them. But if you can, go for Killer Cross here and then put your Heart of Iron in the cube, because your Heart of Iron will never give you this 300% Thorns is equal to 3% of your vitality. It will never be that good. And as for that secondary ability on this Killer Cross, if you put the one Killer Cross and you put it in your cube, if you cube it, it'll be while above 90% primary resource, all damage reduced by 50%. But this resource, this build uses no wrath, so it doesn't matter if this says while above 90 or 99. This will never use up primary resource as long as you don't pick an ability that uses primary source. It'll never go down, so you always have that 50% damage reduction. So Killer Cross here, Heart of Iron there, done. Alright, St. Archie's. Lots of different gloves are pretty good, but this is probably the best one. The secondary, First time an elite pack damage used, gain an absorb shield equal to 149% of your maximum life for 10 seconds. So that's just survival, basically all it is. And then again, you look for strength, vitality up to a point. I'd say up to like 1,000,000 health. I'm sitting at 850. I'm fine with this. I did a Greater Rift 84, I think like this. Or no, I was probably closer to 1,000,000 actually at that time. But over 1,000,000 health, you're going to start wasting stats by getting too much vitality, because the higher the Greater Rift you go, the better the chance that one hit from a mob, even from a white mob, will kill you. So don't put too much vitality in there. When you get to 1,000,000, that's enough. Done. You're done with it. And again, with gloves, you can have critical hit chance, critical hit damage, and attack speed. None of those are of any use to you. Roll them away. Put cooldown reduction, and then area damage. Strength, vitality, yeah. If you can get thorns, I didn't get thorns on the secondary. So, oh well, whatever. I'm actually not even sure if I can get thorns in there. Maybe I can't. Alright, so here's the Legacy of Nightmare set, the no set set. Wish this were better, but this is what I got, and the only other way is to either get lucky with a ring that has better stats on it, or to go out and farm bounties to get hold on a second, get these various items for re-rolling these legendary items. And oh my god, it's so much time and effort for a solo player. It's only worthwhile doing if you can do it in a group of 4, where you have 4 people that can do it so much faster. So I'm just gonna deal with this. So you look at this and you see, well, you got a chance to deal area damage. Why don't you re-roll the vitality away instead of getting thorns on it? Which is really more important? Well, thorns is more important, but my cooldown reduction is almost 64. So there is no reason for me to try to re-roll vitality into cooldown reduction. Because after 64, it starts to become a waste of a resource, a waste of an attribute, a property. It's better that you, once you hit the 64, that you stop doing any kind of improvements to cooldown reduction, instead start re-rolling into other things, as long as you don't lose that 63 to 64% cooldown reduction. Because the 63 to 64% cooldown reduction will help to line up the bombardment cooldown with the convention of elements physical. And in a moment, I think I'll show you. We'll wait for this thing to come up, so it should be next. So blowing everything. Okay, I just blew everything. 60 seconds. Yeah, that's coming off cooldown fast. 30 seconds. Yeah, that's not 30 seconds. 30 seconds. No, that's 90 seconds. That's very slow. There it comes. There he comes. Bam. Everything again. Maximum damage right there. So that's what the value of 63 to 64% cooldown reduction is it lines up this with this. And the reason why that's important, convention of elements gain 200% increased damage to single element. So that's increasing the damage that this is doing by additional 200% when this hits physical in 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, hopefully you're getting that. Let's see, Belt of the Trove. This is an absolute must-have because the secondary every 8 seconds call down bombardment on a random nearby enemy. So that just gives you more bombardment damage. Because this is a belt, it doesn't traditionally have plus critical hit or attack speed. I think it's Witching Hour that has those, if I'm correct. Don't put a Witching Hour in there. This doesn't do anything for you. You don't want a lot of damage. You want to build on this bombardment barrel of spikes ability. That's the majority of your damage. So Here I rerolled the secondary into Thorns damage because that's more important. Adding Thorns to increase the damage of barrel of spikes. Yeah. So that's pretty good. A Litany of the Undaunted. Again, here's where I got the cooldown reduction to help me get to almost 64%, so this is pretty good. Most likely, that was like a critical hit damage ability that I re-rolled into cooldown reduction. It would be nice if this also had area damage on it, or thorns or something, but, well, you get what you can get. Oh yeah, Bane of the Trapped, increased damage against enemies under the effects of of control impairing effects. That's very important. Some people will go with other legendary gems, but I think this one's really the best one. Plus, gain an aura that reduces the movement speed of enemies within 15 yards by 30%. That's very important. It gives you the ability to put distance between you and mobs when you're working on getting your Convention of Elements cooldown lined up with the bombardment while you wait for that to come up, which I believe is what was it, every 16 seconds or so? Yeah, something like that. Oh yeah, forgot to talk about Bane the Stricken. That's why I'm back here again. Bane the Stricken. Each attack you make against an enemy increases the damage it takes when you attacks by 1.64. So that's important for increasing damage against all the mobs in the Greater Rift. And then there's the 25% increased damage against bosses and Rift Guardians. So that's against enemy champions and Rift Guardians. Or maybe bosses isn't enemy champions. I wonder if that's named bosses. Possibly. Anyway, when you reach that Rift Guardian, this Bane the Stricken, you gotta have it. Because there's very little else besides... Oops. Where is it? If you're not going to use Bane the Stricken, I would say that Bane the Powerful would be an absolute must-have in that spot. And then you have to line up when you're getting close to the end of your Greater Rift to try to get an elite pack that you can kill right before the Rift Guardian gets spawned, so you can get the 20% increased damage. Because that's the only other way, unless you got a ton of time to take down the Rift Guardian, that you'll actually, you know, you won't be able to get the Rift Guardian down with anything else besides maybe Bane the Powerful with that 20% increased damage buff, or this. Trust me, you gotta have that. Alright, Hexing Pants of Mistyan, must have, required. Resource regeneration damage is increased by 25% while moving and decreased by 25% while standing still. So you can see that up here, damage increased by skills. So that's where Hexing Pants is reducing your damage. So this build is all about moving. You want to keep moving. You don't want to stand still. This isn't like using the Invoker set or the Arkham set. This isn't any set where you're going to stand still. You're going to keep moving. So you keep moving. You keep moving, and there, I just got the buff. Yeah. I hate that when I click things. So you're not going to be standing still. You're going to be moving. You're going to be moving. You're going to keep moving, and you're going to get that damage increase. So that's, yeah, you can see damage here and kind of increasing. These pants, you can't get cooldown reduction or area damage on them, so just put strength, vitality, plus the area, no, resist, all resist, thorns damage. I had to re-roll sockets in them to add more resist to all elements. Alright, here's what makes my build really work for me. And a lot of people are using it. I think all the cool kids are using it. Some might be using that Doombringer. Yeah. Alright, so Swift Mount. That secondary doubles the duration of stage charge. So everything, once I get into showing you these skills and abilities, you will see how using these as well as the passive skills are building upon reducing cooldown, the cooldown of all your skills and abilities, as well as extending the period of time that those skills and abilities will last. so that for this example, this will always be available. If you got 64% cooldown reduction and you have all the abilities that I'm using plus this swift mount, and I'll show these abilities in a little bit, that you'll be able to stay on your steed charge almost all the time. And for me, what makes that doubly valuable is it helps me to get between mobs really fast, helps me avoid getting hit. It's really important. It also, oh no, what was I thinking? Well, I think it will work very well with these. A lot of players will use illusory boots in this place. I use ice climbers because my cooldown reduction and all my abilities and this one flail get my steed charge, so it's always available. It's never on cooldown unless I goof up my rotation. I pop this and then I accidentally pop one of these other things. That'll interrupt my steed charge. It'll take me off the horse, the pixel horse. I don't need illusory boots. I don't need to be able to walk through enemies. If I do everything right, the benefit of having these ice climbers is gain immunity to freeze and immobilize effects. That's great. So don't have to worry about jailer. Don't have to worry about being frozen. It's just great. This is perfect. I think this is on par with illusory boots. Illusory boots are great if you weren't worrying about the steed charge, because you don't do a lot of damage with steed charge. Even though it says Warhorse deals 500% of your thorns every second, it's not really that much damage. Not nearly as much as this. This is crazy go nuts damage. This is like, oh, it's a little bit of damage. I'll throw it in there. A little sprinkling, you know, it's like Rip Torn running through with confetti going, ha ha, and it's doing all that stuff. Yeah, I know, that was really lame. Oh well. I did it. Can't undo it. Not going to do another recording. So, this swift mount, I got this, like, I had this one. Not too bad. Had vitality instead of that area damage. And it had better cooldown reduction that gets me closer, gets me over 64%. But this one has chance to deal damage, which is great because, you know, more area damage, you can't go wrong with that. You know, when this procs, that's a lot of area damage to enemies. That's definitely worthwhile. So, if you see here, I haven't re-rolled any of the properties. And you might wonder, okay, what are you going to do? So that fire damage at the very top, that 1365 to 1679, I think I'm going to re-roll that. I don't know it yet. I should do a little more research. I want to be a little more serious. Because damage on this item doesn't count on much. You know, the amount of damage you're doing here isn't nearly as valuable as the multipliers for bombardment. So 6 to 10% damage, that might be okay. Vitality, well, that's survivability. That'll get me up to 1,000,000, I'm sure. Attack speed, no. Damage against the elites, yeah, that's not bad. 5 to 8%, not bad. Life per hit, not really, no. Life per wrath spent, well, I don't spend any wrath. Reduce the resource costs, no, I don't use resources. Increases wrath regeneration, I don't need to increase wrath, I don't use it. Bleed effect. Well, weapon damage, yeah, again, there's no weapon damage, so yeah, I think I'm going to take this, and I think either maybe a vitality or damage against the elites. Yeah, I think that's what I'm probably going to end up doing. But I think I'm going to want to do a little bit more research to make absolutely sure what I'm going to do. What could I do here? If I could get thorns on this property, I would probably go with thorns. I'd probably leave fire alone and go with thorns. But I can't. And the rest of this stuff, yeah, you got chance to fear, stun, all this stuff. You know, I already have enough tricks to stun ads. So I'm just not going to worry about that. But this is a really, really good swift mount. Really good. Ice Climbers, I already told you about this stuff. Immunity to freeze and mobilize effects. I think it's great. Plus, it's got reduced damage from cold attacks. Can't beat that. You can't get cooldown reduction or area damage, on your boots. So you just roll strength, vitality, resist to all, or movement speed if you want it. And then we got lidless wall. A lot of shields are pretty good, but this one had really good rolls. It had physical damage, bonus to physical damage already in there, and that's going to build upon a bombardment, so that's really good. So I re-rolled, like, shields, they'll have plus critical hit chance. And as I mentioned, I think I mentioned, critical hit chance, your bombardment can never critical hit no matter what. So we're going to roll that off if it's on there and put cooldown reduction unless my cooldown reduction is already here. And then we're going to put something else in here to benefit. And it also has some thorns in there, which is really, really nice. Alright, so I think that explains the gear. Yeah, 25 minutes. Alright, I'm going to try to wrap this up in 5 minutes real quick, go over the skills ability. Okay, so you need the diamond in here. That's helps you reduce your cooldown reduction. Absolute must have to get this cooldown reduction where it's at. I'm going to put in diamonds in here for resist all over strength, for toughness, because these ads hit hard. Although in Season 6 Blizzard says they reduce the amount of damage that mobs do in greater rifts over 70, and that's true. They do a little bit less damage, but the higher you get, that damage is going to start ramping up a little bit and a little bit. And you know, if I'm lucky enough to get up to greater rift 100, I'm pretty sure that those things are going to be like one shot at me. They could turn and give me a really nasty look and I'll be dead. Yeah, no, that's not funny. Don't quit your day job. Just do this. Alright, so damage against elites, okay, yada yada yada. Critical hit damage, who cares? Area damage. This could be really anything. More is better, but cooldown reduction, absolute. This is highest priority. Get this to 63 to 64. And then we got physical damage. That builds upon this bombardment. That's very important. That's adding more damage. There we go. Bombardment damage increase. That builds upon bombardment. And this phalanx damage that comes from a passive skill. I'll show you that in a moment. Armor, yeah. Block doesn't matter. Resistance as much as you can. I wouldn't do it unless you have like an item like this that already has the strength and vitality in it. And if you can't get thorns, then, you know, roll a skill into this, you know, resist all elements or something like that if you have to. And I think you've seen that I haven't re-rolled anything into resist all. But this is, you know, this is kind of low, but even the more you get, yeah, it's going to help a little bit, but not as much as you would hope. Thorns, get this as high as you can get this. Make it your goal to see if you can get it to 300,000. So your goal, cooldown reduction, get that 63, 64, and then your second goal, get thorns up to 300,000. That's going to be tough. That takes a lot of work. Gotta get a lot of lucky drops. Maximum life. Anything over 1 million is waste, so start re-rolling vitality. This had vitality. I re-rolled it to cooldown reduction because after a certain point, vitality becomes a wasted stat. Because enemies at the ranking of Greater Rift I'm going to do, if I let them get a clean shot at me without having some kind of ability to reduce their damage, they're going to one-shot me. I could have 2 million life. And, okay, so I get 2 shots instead of 1 shot. Same difference. So vitality up to a point, and then, like, yeah, I definitely wouldn't be re-rolling all your vitality off. Get, you know, close to 1 million if you can. Life per second, yeah, yada yada. Resource regeneration doesn't matter. You don't spend resources. You can pick abilities that'll spend resources. Just don't. If you do, you're going to lose this buff of Killer Karas, and you'll notice it. You might not notice it unless you, like, pay attention to that. But, man, when this drops off, yeah, you can start to take some pretty heavy damage pretty fast. Movement speed, I could care less about movement speed on my items because I've got 100% steed charge available all times. Then inside the cube, Mortal Drama, double the number of impacts. We're building upon bombardment. Heart of Iron, this is the best way to increase your thorns. This is more important. As soon as you get this, a Killer Karas in this kind of shape where it's really, really good, then you want your Heart of Iron in your cube. Convention of Elements, just for the physical cooldown reduction, or the physical bonus 200% damage increase. Paragon, go through it fast. Let's see, area damage first, and everything else after that. Defensive, I would go with probably resist all, because that gives you the most toughness, and then life and or armor, life regen after that. Offensive, cooldown reduction first, everything else later. Doesn't really matter nearly as much. And then I'm not wasting any of my points on this movement speed, because my steed charge is 100% all the time. Put it into strength. Strength adds to toughness. Strength adds to thorns. So that's that. Let's take a look at the skills. Shoot, I'm over 30 minutes. I'm just going to show this to you. I'm not going to go into deep explanations. If you want to see other builds, go to other people's channels, take a look at what they're using. Most of this stuff is what you're going to use. You're going to want Steed Charge with Spike Barding. That's an absolute must-have. Iron Skin, Reflective Skin is an absolute must-have. Bombardment, Barrel of Spikes. This is not a bombardment build if you don't do this. It has to be this. Aircat's Champion with Prophet, absolute must-have. And then the Shield Glare and Laws of Justice. You can switch between different things. I picked these because 1, this is a survivability thing. 2, this gives me a stun ability plus a bonus damage ability. So that's why that's in there. And then passive skills, Learn Commander. You got to have this. Without this, your Steed Charge is not going to be available 100% of the time. And your bombardments will not line up with the Convention of Elements physical damage. You got to have this. And that's where you see where the phalanx is increased by 20%, even though you're not going to be using phalanx period at all for any reason. Indestructible. This has saved me so many times. You got to have this. This is your, this saves you. This gets you back to, to live. Fervor, one-handed weapon. The attack speed doesn't do anything. Cooldown reduction is very helpful. 15%, I'll take it. Yeah, I guess you could move out Fervor for something else, because cooldown reduction by 15%, you might be able to get away with that if you have over 64% cooldown reduction with that Swift mount. Yeah, you could possibly get rid of Fervor and go for Finery maybe. Yeah, I think that would do. Or anything else. I would think this would be your next one if so. And then Iron Maid, you gotta have this, because that just builds upon the amount of damage that the thorns increases your thorns, which will increase the damage of bombardment. Yeah, that's it. That's all your damage. This is everything. Everything else here is a multiplier. So this gives you absorb shield that helps you survive, plus increases your thorns by 300% while it's active. Here, resistance, that's survivability. You gain resist to all when you use it again. So passive is you gain resist, and when you use it, you get even more resistance. So that's survival. That's really good. Aircat's Champion. So explode power, increasing your damage 35%. That's good. Wrath regeneration doesn't matter. 150% additional armor. Yeah, that's important. And it's really important with my Halcyon's Descent, because my Halcyon's Descent is going to proc with this. So I'm going to get to make enemies jump up and down like they're jumping up and down, I guess. Yeah, I know, I did a good job there. Shield Glare. Blind all the enemies for 4 seconds. Blind enemies take 20% more damage. Okay, that's definitely important. And then Steed Charge. Warhorse deals 500% of your thorns, so that's additional damage. But it's mostly that this Steed Charge will help you keep moving through the rift, progressing fast, getting in between mobs as fast as possible. You don't have to worry about spending paragon points and speed. And this will get you out of, oh shit situations. Yeah. Templar. The secondary skills are now reflective on your followers, so that secondary skill, blocking an attack, has a chance to freeze the attacker. That can work, but that's terrible. 0.5 seconds. That's not what we want. This is what we want. Wayward. Lightning damage is a chance to has, oh, excuse me, sorry. I burped, sorry. Lightning damage has 33% chance to stun for 1.5 seconds. Okay, that stun builds upon this Bane of the Trap and increasing the damage we do to a stunned, controlled, impaired ad. So what do? We pick items that do lightning damage. So Fulminator does lightning damage. And look at that secondary ability. Lightning damage has a chance to turn enemies into lightning rods, causing them pulse X amount of weapon damage as lightning every second to nearby enemies for 6 seconds. I like this more than Thunder Fury. Okay, chance on hit to blast your enemies with lightning, dealing X amount of weapon damage as lightning, and then jumping additional enemies. Each enemy hit has their attack speed and movement speed reduced. Yeah, that's pretty good. This would probably be excellent for helping to improve my survival. But I decided to go with Fulminator. Let's see, we got Oculus Ring. Chance to create an area of focus power and kill a monster. Damage increase while standing in that area. I'm not sure if that includes me too, or if it's just for him. And then he has the Do Not Die as well as the Johan, which chance on hit to pull enemies toward your target and slow them by 80%. That's really good. So this helps him to round up all the enemies so I can run through with bombardment, barrel of spikes. One thing you will see is that I have made sure I got sockets on these items, as many as I can, and filled them with strength. I have found that strength, a point of strength is worth more than the equal amount percentage of critical hit chance or critical hit damage. So put as much strength as you can in there. Like I rolled 440 strength as opposed to doing critical hit damage in there. Instead of getting a trifecta for damage improvements, I just put strength. It's more for his damage. And then he has pick for his skills, heal, because I need that more than I need his taunting. Life regen, I need that more than slowing. Charge, I need that for stunning. That's Bane of the Trapped, more so than Massive Blow. And this Guardian, he saved me quite a few times. But you know what? That's a no-brainer. I don't need resource regeneration, and neither do you. I've seen some people with followers that have cooldown reduction. They've actually rolled into cooldown reduction. And the thing is, I see nowhere here where it's listed where cooldown reduction is. I don't know what they're smoking. Damage reduction. I don't see cooldown reduction. Maybe it's something they forgot to add. But yeah, well, you know what? Let's just do it while we're thinking about it. Do I have okay, that's got cooldown reduction. Hey, we're gonna do something on the fly here. So this has no cooldown reduction. This says cooldown 30 seconds. Let's just see what happens when we do 7%. Let's see if it shows up here. No? No. I'm not seeing anything change. Cooldown reduction. Nope. I don't see anything there at all suggesting that they are getting a cooldown reduction benefit. Maybe it's something that Blizzard missed and it's there and I should be doing cooldown reduction on those guys. Well, anyway, 40 minutes. Okay. This is pretty good. I mean, I wanted it to be 20 minutes, but oh my god, there's no way I'm doing this in 20 minutes. Not showing you everything and explaining everything. Yeah, I think that covers everything. I don't know if there's anything else I need to point out to you. Oh yeah, you gotta use this gem for Thorns damage, absolute must have, over any other gem that you can put in this socket. You won't get any benefit from plus hit or damage increase or any of that other stuff. This is bigger. So that's it. Yeah, we're coming up on 40 minutes. thanks a whole bunch for hanging around and listening to me. And I hope season 6 is going really well for you. And I hope my guide helps you and everything. And in the next couple weeks, I'm going to be working on leveling legendary dems for the Call to Sans Despair augments for all my items. I've already got one done here. That's rank 81. I still got 12 others I got to do, and it's going to take me about 6 hours per gem. So I'm going to have a bunch of fun. Probably going to take 3 weeks to do it. Alright, that's it. Take it easy. Later, dudes.